Jamal Thompson stands in the pristine conference room of Thompson & Associates Architecture, his firm's name gleaming on the glass wall behind him. The scale model of the DuSable Heritage Museum sits illuminated on the central table, a masterpiece of flowing curves and cultural symbolism. Board members from the Museum Foundation lean in, nodding with appreciation at the design's bold integration of African diaspora motifs. Jamal's voice is steady and authoritative as he explains the concept, his tailored charcoal suit and confident posture commanding the room. Before we move on, tell me in the comments which state you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe. The lead board member, Mrs. Eleanor Briggs, smiles and extends her hand, saying the words Jamal has waited his entire career to hear. "Mr. Thompson, I believe we've found our architect." Applause fills the room as handshakes are exchanged. Jamal feels the weight of arrival, of finally breaking through into the elite tier of Chicago's architectural landscape. That evening, the Chicago Tribune runs a headline: "Local architect Jamal Thompson wins historic DuSable Museum commission." At home, in their Bronzeville brownstone, Nia Thompson reads the article on her tablet while preparing dinner. She feels pride, but also a nagging unease she can't quite name. Jamal arrives home late, his tie loosened, carrying the energy of celebration. He kisses Nia on the cheek and pours himself a bourbon, talking rapidly about the day's triumph. Nia asks about the design process, how long it took to develop the concept. Jamal's answer is smooth but vague, crediting months of intensive collaboration with the team. He mentions Zaire Mitchell repeatedly, his young junior architect, praising his incredible attention to detail. Nia notices how Jamal's jaw tightens slightly when he says Zaire's name. She asks when she'll see the full design presentation. Jamal deflects, saying he'll bring it home soon, but right now everything is locked down under confidentiality agreements. Later that night, as Jamal sleeps, Nia stares at the ceiling. Something in his voice, in the way he avoided her eyes when talking about the design, plants a seed of doubt. She's been married to this man for 15 years and knows his tells. The late nights, the defensive edge, the constant mentions of Zaire as if building a narrative. She tells herself she's being paranoid, that success has made her suspicious, but the feeling doesn't leave. 3 days later, Nia is helping Jamal organize his cluttered home office. Stacks of blueprints, design journals, and reference books cover every surface. Jamal is at the firm, so she works alone, sorting papers into keep and recycle piles. In the recycling bin, beneath coffee-stained printouts, she finds a crumpled sheet of vellum. She smooths it out on the desk. It's a preliminary sketch, a stunning organic concept for a museum structure. The flowing lines and cultural motifs are unmistakably similar to the design Jamal presented. But in the lower right corner is a distinctive monogram, ZM. The date stamp reads 6 months earlier, 2 months before Jamal's official first draft presentation. Nia's breath catches. She photographs the sketch with her phone, then carefully places it back in the recycling, exactly as she found it. Her hands are shaking slightly. That weekend, the firm hosts a casual barbecue at a lakefront home in Hyde Park. Nia accompanies Jamal, playing the role of the supportive wife. She observes the dynamic between Jamal and Zaire carefully. Zaire is lean, intense, dressed in dark jeans and a fitted black shirt. He's talented, and everyone knows it, but he moves through the party with visible discomfort. Jamal keeps Zaire close, a hand on his shoulder during introductions, controlling the conversations. It's friendly on the surface, but Nia senses something possessive underneath. She watches Jamal steer Zaire away from a senior partner who's asking detailed questions about the museum's structural innovations. Later, near the outdoor bar, Nia positions herself within earshot as Jamal and Zaire step aside. Their voices are low but urgent. She catches fragments like, "The review board knows nothing," and "Just keep it together until after the gala." Zaire's response is bitter. "Easy for you to say." Jamal's tone hardens. "We had an agreement. Don't make me remind you what's at stake." Nia turns away before they notice her, her heart pounding. The pieces are forming a picture she doesn't want to see. That night, She lies awake while Jamal sleeps beside her. She thinks about the sketch, the monogram, the tense exchange, the timeline that doesn't add up. She knows she needs more than suspicion. She needs proof. Naya runs a nonprofit called Southside Canvas, connecting young artists with public art opportunities. Her network spans educators, gallery owners, and university professors across Chicago. She reaches out to Professor Kamara Green, an old friend who teaches architecture at the Illinois Institute of Technology. They meet for coffee at a quiet cafe in Pilsen. Naya asks casually about promising young architects coming out of the program. Professor Green mentions Zaire Mitchell immediately. Generational talent, she says, but he had a rough patch during his final year. Naya leans in, asking what kind of rough patch. Professor Green hesitates, then lowers her voice. There was an incident with his thesis project, a plagiarism accusation. Zaire had submitted a design that was too similar to a European architect's published work. The Academic Integrity Board was ready to revoke his degree. But then a prominent alum intervened, applying pressure, and the official record was quietly amended. Zaire graduated with a formal reprimand that was later sealed. Naya asks who the alum was. Professor Green doesn't remember the name, but mentions he sat on the school's advisory board. Naya already knows. Jamal Thompson has been on that advisory board for 3 years. She thanks Professor Green and leaves the cafe with a cold certainty settling in her chest. The timeline is clear now. Jamal saved Zaire's career before it even began. He held that leverage over a young, desperate talent. And then he used it to take what wasn't his. This isn't just professional fraud. It's exploitation, control, a theft of identity and credit. Naya drives home, gripping the steering wheel. She thinks about confronting Jamal immediately, privately. But she knows him. He'll deny, deflect, rationalize. He'll make her doubt her own evidence. No, if she's going to do this, it has to be definitive. The public unveiling gala is in 1 week. Jamal will stand before Chicago's cultural elite and accept praise for work that isn't his. Naya decides that gala will be where the truth comes out. But she needs to be strategic, surgical. She needs to force the confrontation in a way that gives Jamal no room to maneuver. She begins to plan. Naya spends the next few days moving through her life with careful normalcy. She smiles at breakfast, asks about Jamal's day, attends her nonprofit meetings. But inside, she's constructing her approach with the precision of a blueprint. She reviews everything she knows: the sketch, the timeline, the thesis scandal, the power dynamic. She understands that exposing this publicly could destroy Jamal completely. Part of her wants that. The betrayal cuts deeper than infidelity ever could. This is a theft of soul, of integrity, of the values they supposedly built their marriage on. But another part of her, the part that still loves the man she thought he was, wants to give him a chance to choose differently. She won't make a public scene herself. Instead, she'll create the conditions where the truth forces itself out. She focuses on Zaire. He's the weak point, the pressure valve ready to blow. At the gala, he'll be on display, watching Jamal receive glory for his stolen work. Alcohol, resentment, and public attention create volatility. Naya plans to apply just enough pressure to crack his composure. She rehearses her words, her tone, the exact moment to strike. It has to be calm, quiet, devastating. Not an accusation, but a revelation of knowledge that shifts all power. She buys a new dress for the gala, a deep emerald silk that makes her look regal and untouchable. Jamal compliments her when he sees it, oblivious. She smiles and thanks him. The night before the gala, Jamal is anxious, reviewing his speech repeatedly. Naya watches him from the bedroom doorway. He looks like a man about to receive everything he's ever wanted. She wonders if he feels any guilt at all, or if ambition has completely consumed his conscience. Tomorrow, she'll find out who her husband really is. The Art Institute of Chicago glows with warm light as guests arrive for the unveiling gala. Jamal and Naya entered together, his hand on the small of her back. Camera flashes pop as local press photograph the evening's honored architect. Inside, the Great Hall is filled with Chicago's cultural elite, museum board members, city officials, and architecture critics. A large screen displays renderings of the DuSable Heritage Museum design. Jamal is radiant, moving through the crowd with easy confidence. Naya stays close, the picture of supportive grace. She spots Zaire standing near the bar, alone, a glass of whiskey already in his hand. He's dressed in a dark suit that doesn't quite fit his frame, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. Throughout the evening, Naya watches the dynamic. Jamal occasionally glances at Zaire, checking on him, like a handler monitoring a liability. Zaire drinks steadily, his expression growing darker. When colleagues approach him with congratulations on the team's work, his smile is tight and bitter. The formal program begins. Mrs. Eleanor Briggs takes the microphone and praises Jamal's vision and cultural sensitivity. Jamal delivers his speech with polished charisma, thanking the board, his firm, and the talented team, especially Zaire Mitchell, whose dedication to detail has been invaluable. Applause fills the room. Naya watches Zaire's jaw clench at the word detail, as if his entire genius has been reduced to technical execution. After the speech, guests mingle around the display models. Zaire refills his drink, now visibly unsteady. Naya positions herself near him, deliberately alone. He notices her and approaches, emboldened by alcohol. "Mrs. Thompson," he says, his words slightly slurred. "Enjoying the view from the top?" There's challenge in his voice, resentment barely concealed. Naya meets his eyes with calm precision. She speaks quietly, just loud enough for him to hear. "I know about the thesis review board, Zaire. April 2019. I know what Jamal did for you, and I know what he's taken in return." The color drains from his face. His hand tightens around his glass. Naya continues, her voice steady. "You can keep letting him own you, or you can decide what integrity is worth. The choice is yours." She walks away, leaving him frozen. Within minutes, Zaire sets down his glass and hurries toward the exit. Jamal notices immediately and follows, his expression shifting from confusion to alarm. Naya counts to 30, then follows them both. Nia finds them in a marble-lined corridor away from the main hall. Zaire is pacing, his voice rising. "I can't do this anymore, man. That's my work in there, my vision, and you're up there taking bows like some kind of genius." Jamal's voice is low and urgent. "Keep your voice down. We had an agreement. You knew what this was." Zaire laughs bitterly. "An agreement? You owned me. You saved my degree so you could steal my soul." Jamal tries to calm him. "I gave you a career, a future. Without me, you'd be nothing." Zaire's face twists with rage. "Without you, I'd be free." Nia steps into the light, her heels clicking on the marble. Both men freeze. She looks at Jamal with a gaze that could cut steel. "She knows," Zaire says flatly. "Your wife knows everything." Jamal's face shifts through shock, denial, calculation. "Nia, whatever he told you." She cuts him off. "I found the sketches, Jamal. ZM, dated months before your first draft. I know about the thesis scandal, about you sitting on the review board, about the leverage you've held over this young man for years." The silence is crushing. Jamal's mouth opens, but no words come. Nia continues, her voice cold and clear. "You built your legacy on theft and coercion. You stood in that room tonight and accepted praise for genius that isn't yours." Zaire looks between them, suddenly realizing he's watching a marriage implode. Jamal finally speaks, his voice desperate. "It's not that simple. I was blocked. I needed—" "You needed," Nia repeats. "That's all you ever think about." She turns to Zaire. "You should leave. Go home. Think about what you want your career to actually mean." Zaire hesitates, then nods and walks away, his footsteps echoing. Nia and Jamal stand alone in the corridor. She delivers her ultimatum. "You have two choices. You control this unraveling now on your terms, or I will. You decide tonight what kind of man you want to be." She walks back toward the gala, leaving Jamal standing in the cold marble silence. The car ride home is absolute silence. Jamal drives, his hands gripping the wheel, his face ashen. Nia stares out the window at the Chicago skyline, her expression unreadable. They pull up to their Bronzeville brownstone. Inside, the facade finally crumbles. Jamal pours himself a drink with shaking hands. Nia removes her jewelry methodically, waiting. He begins to speak, his voice hollow. "I hit a wall, creatively, 2 years ago. Nothing I designed felt right, felt worthy." She listens without looking at him. "And then Zaire showed me these sketches, just exploratory work he was doing on his own time, and they were perfect. Everything I couldn't access anymore." He sits heavily on the couch. "I told myself it was collaboration, that I was guiding him, shaping the concept. But I knew. I always knew." Nia finally turns to face him. "And the thesis scandal?" Jamal closes his eyes. "I found out about it through the advisory board. I saw an opportunity. I got the charges reduced, the record sealed, and I made sure he knew what I'd done for him." "You created a debt," Nia says flatly. "I created a partnership," Jamal counters weakly. "You created a prison," she corrects. The anger in her voice is cold and solid. "You took a brilliant young man's mistake and turned it into chains. You stole his work and called it mentorship." Jamal has no defense left. Nia lays down her terms. "Zaire resigns tomorrow with a clean reference and a severance package. You don't contest it, you don't badmouth him, he walks away free." Jamal nods numbly. "And you," she continues, "you decide by morning whether you're going to confess to the museum board or continue building on a rotten foundation." "If I confess, I lose everything," Jamal whispers. "If you don't," Nia says, "you lose yourself, and you lose me." She walks upstairs, leaving him alone with his choice. The following week is quiet hell. Zaire's resignation is announced with a brief professional email citing pursuit of independent opportunities. The severance package is generous, the reference letter glowing. Jamal watches him pack his desk from across the office, unable to meet his eyes. At home, Nia and Jamal exist in careful, painful distance. She hasn't left, but she hasn't forgiven either. Every night, Jamal sits in his home office staring at the museum renderings. He traces the design's lineage from Zaire's original sketches to his own polished presentations. The theft is undeniable, documented in layers of files and dates. He thinks about confessing, about the humiliation and professional death it would bring. He thinks about staying silent, living with the lie, keeping his career intact. But then he looks at the empty space beside him in bed, at Nia's closed expression over breakfast. He realizes her ultimatum wasn't about saving his career, it was about offering him a chance to save his soul. On Friday evening, he makes a decision. He calls Mrs. Eleanor Briggs and requests an emergency meeting with the museum board. His voice is steady, but his hands shake as he hangs up. Nia, overhearing from the kitchen, says nothing, but something in her posture softens slightly. The meeting is scheduled for Monday morning. Jamal spends the weekend preparing, not a defense, but a confession. He writes out the timeline, gathers the evidence, constructs the truth with the same precision he once used to construct lies. Sunday night, he shows Nia what he's prepared. She reads it in silence, then looks at him. "This will end your career as you know it." "I know," he says quietly. "It's the right thing," she says. "It's not forgiveness, but it's something." Monday morning, Jamal sits before the museum board in a conference room overlooking Michigan Avenue. Mrs. Briggs and 4 other board members listen as he confesses. He presents the timeline, the sketches, the full truth about Zaire's authorship and his own exploitation. He offers to resign from the project immediately. The room is silent when he finishes. Mrs. Briggs's expression is disappointed, but not entirely surprised. "You understand this is a profound breach of trust," she says. "I do," Jamal answers. Another board member asks why he's coming forward now. Jamal considers lying, spinning it as conscience. Instead, he tells the truth. "My wife gave me a choice between my legacy and my integrity. I chose wrong for too long." The board caucuses privately for 20 minutes. When they return, Mrs. Briggs speaks. "We value your candor, Mr. Thompson, though we're deeply disappointed in your actions." Jamal braces for termination. "However," she continues, "we recognize that the design is exceptional and the project is time-sensitive. We propose a compromise." The terms: Jamal remains as project manager, handling coordination and execution. Zaire Mitchell. Monday morning, Jamal sits before the museum board in a conference room overlooking Michigan Avenue. Mrs. Briggs and 4 other board members listen as he confesses. He presents the timeline, the sketches, the full truth about Zaire's authorship and his own exploitation. He offers to resign from the project immediately. The room is silent when he finishes. Mrs. Briggs's expression is disappointed, but not entirely surprised. "You understand this is a profound breach of trust," she says. "I do," Jamal answers. Another board member asks why he's coming forward now. Jamal considers lying, spinning it as conscience. Instead, he tells the truth. "My wife gave me a choice between my legacy and my integrity. I chose wrong for too long." The board caucuses privately for 20 minutes. When they return, Mrs. Briggs speaks. "We value your candor, Mr. Thompson, though we're deeply disappointed in your actions." Jamal braces for termination. "However," she continues, "we recognize that the design is exceptional and the project is time-sensitive. We propose a compromise." The terms: Jamal remains as project manager, handling coordination and execution. Zaire Mitchell, if he agrees, will be formally credited as lead design associate with full public acknowledgement and appropriate compensation. A transparent narrative will be crafted about collaborative evolution and proper attribution. Jamal's role will be diminished but not eliminated. It's humiliating, but it's also merciful. "Do you accept these terms?" Mrs. Briggs asks. "I do," Jamal says, "but Zaire has to agree. I can't speak for him." "Then you'll need to ask him and convince him to trust a process you corrupted." Jamal leaves the meeting with the weight of that task ahead. That evening, he drafts an email to Zaire, then deletes it. This conversation has to be face-to-face. He asks Nia if she thinks Zaire will even listen. "I don't know," she says honestly, "but you owe him the ask." 3 months later, the DuSable Heritage Museum project is moving forward under the new structure. Zaire, after 2 weeks of consideration and consultation with a lawyer Nia helped him find, agreed to return. The public narrative has been released, a story of collaborative design with proper credit restored. Some in the industry whisper about what really happened, but the official record is now accurate. Zaire is wary, guarded, but engaged in the work. He and Jamal maintain a professional but distant dynamic. There are no warm exchanges, no easy camaraderie, but there's respect for the boundaries and the process. Jamal has learned to manage rather than control, to facilitate rather than claim. It's humbling work, but it's honest. At home, Nia and Jamal exist in a space of careful reconstruction. They're in couples therapy, unpacking years of ambition and neglect. Trust is not restored, but it's being rebuilt, one truthful conversation at a time. There are no grand declarations of forgiveness. Some evenings are warm, others are coldly polite. One Saturday evening in early autumn, they sit on their front porch overlooking the neighborhood. The Bronzeville streets are alive with music and voices. Jamal looks at the city he spent his career trying to shape. "I don't know if I'll ever design anything truly mine again," he says quietly. Nia considers this. Maybe that's not the point anymore. Maybe the point is building something that's true. He nods, understanding the weight of that distinction. She doesn't reach for his hand, but she doesn't move away either. The silence between them is no longer charged with secrets. It's simply space, room for both of them to exist honestly. Inside the house, Blueprints for the museum's next phase are spread across the dining table. Zair's distinctive hand is visible in every detail. Jamal's notes are careful, supportive, secondary. It's not the legacy he imagined, but it's one he can live with. The future is not a fixed structure. It's a blueprint they must redraw, together, one truthful line at a time. And for now, that's enough. If you enjoyed this story, like this video and leave a comment telling me what you thought. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell to get alerts for new stories like this one. Thanks for watching.